We'll start with questions for Riquna Williams with R.A. Schwartz at Winsider.
Hey, Riquna, good morning. I'm curious for you. You're world famous for being the microwave and intimidating scorer, but what part of your game in your mind goes unnoticed and should get more attention? Or maybe you don't want other teams to take notice yet?
Yeah, I'm really not into all of that, to be honest. My biggest focus is just playing and enjoying the game and helping LA get to where we need to be and coming in and doing my job and just holding down everything that I can.
Thank you.
We'll head over to Adam Grossbar at LA Daily News.
Hey, Riquna, just how have you felt since coming back from the injury? Do you feel like you're at or close to 100%?
I'm still a little scared, a little nervous. I definitely could see on film that I'm tiptoeing around. But I think last game was a great example of that I'm just letting go and not thinking so much because I can't control it. Injuries-wise, I can't control that, but I can definitely control how much energy and effort I give.
You have a follow-up, Adam?
Just for like some of us who, don't play professionally, like when you say scared and tiptoeing around, like what exactly does that mean to you?
The play is just replaying in my head, that spin move to the twist. And then definitely I remember doing it again in the second game back against Atlanta against Courtney Williams. I drove middle really hard and spun back towards the baseline and right away started thinking about it. Then I missed the shot. So it always replays and certain moves remind me of that little experience I had.
Thank you.
Tiffany Nguyen with the LA Times.
When you're talking about how kind of, vivid that one moment was for you, in that moment, did it seem scarier to you than you thought than it ended up being? Because at least for us, when we saw it on TV, we thought you were going to be out for maybe a while, and I guess you were fortunate that you didn't miss too many games.
Right, definitely. Kind of got hot. Like I said, I felt the pop, but I was telling Courtney, our trainer, that it almost felt like one of those blind screams where that crack that you needed. And I tried to tell them that I wanted to go back in, and I did everything I needed to do, the sprinting, the high knees, and the back when I left off the court. But they wanted to be safe and sorry because I experienced that pop.
Carolyn, did you have a question?
Yeah, Riquna, coming in to this game for tonight against Dallas, what is the focus of trying to slow down Arike Gumbawale?
We don't focus in on just one player. They have other great players, not to take away from Arike. But if we could just contain their guards and force other people outside of Arike to do things and hold Arike under her highs, then I think we'll come up pretty successful.
Last question for Riquna Williams. Go back to R.A. Schwartz, Winsider.
I'm curious. I've heard a lot of players and coaches talk about not hitting full stride or too early in the season. And I'm curious for you, you're playing 3 playoff teams in this last stretch of 6 games. When is ideal to really, hit full cylinders for this team?
Honestly, one game at a time. We got to focus in on just one game at a time for us and stay at our pace. We can't focus in on what other teams are doing. We're trying to focus on LA and play LA basketball because we have great players with the Sparks, and we want to go at our pace and not force other teams to make us do what they want us to do.
Thank you, Riquna.
No problem. Thank you, guys.
All right, we will start with Carolyn Peck.
Good morning, Seimone. After your last game, Derek Fisher talked about that winning covered up some areas of improvement that needed to be focused on. Can you pinpoint specifically what those things were?
Obviously, defensively, just the togetherness that we did not have, the connectedness that we needed as far as dictating action, covering each other in help side and things like that. Those were things that were somewhat exposed in the last game, as well as our offensive ball movement. The ball didn't move, or players' bodies didn't move as much as we needed them to get the rotations that we were hoping to get as far as our attack points and where we thought we could be effective in attacking Minnesota the last game. So, you know, you have to agree with them as far as like the games prior to that, the Dallas game, Atlanta game, we were able to get by with not being as efficient in those areas against those teams. But when you play against teams that are more structured in their approach to the game, they can kind of, you know, pick you apart when you're not disciplined in your defensive efforts.
And if I could follow that up with Seimone, you've had a tremendous career, championship experience. As you're now with LA and going through these last 6 games, as a vet, how can you or how have you contributed to helping this team understand the importance of these last 6 games?
You know, just being vocal. Obviously, we're still fighting for playoff positioning, even though we've clinched, as well as getting in a groove. Like some of your best teams coming into playoffs, they start playing their best basketball leading into that last stretch of games. So it's almost good that we had that loss. So now that we can refocus on the things that we need to get better at and the things that we need to do in order to get ready for tonight, Seattle coming up, Vegas, Chicago, the games that we have a nice stretch of games, nice tough stretch of games that can definitely propel us forward and get us where we want to go mentally and physically for the playoffs.
Michelle Vogel, ESPN. Go ahead, Michelle.
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Hey, how are you doing, Seimone? I had a question about guard play. You know, we haven't had a lot of guards, actually just 2 true guards win MVP. And, you know, there's been a lot of great guards in the league. You look at a point guard like Courtney Vandersloot, who I think has moved into the conversation this year. You played with a great one in Lindsay Whalen and playing with a great one in Chelsea Gray now. Can you just sort of talk about the guards and, you know, whether or not maybe they've been a little bit underappreciated, if you will, especially when it comes to MVP?
Definitely underappreciated. They are the reason a lot of the players become MVP as far as what they're able to do on the floor. You know, using my experience with Lindsay Whalen, you know, she just knew she was an extension of the coach. She knew what play she wanted to run prior to. She knew what movement. She played chess when everyone else was playing checkers, if that makes sense. She knew when she wanted to get Maya a shot, Mia a shot, Sil a shot, and she knew what plays to chime up in her head. So she was like 2 or 3 steps ahead of that. And even in her approach, sometimes she would just do things to create a movement to facilitate the next play or the next pass and things like that. And so I think in those cases, people don't really appreciate the things that the point guards do as far as setting their teammates up to be successful, as well as taking advantage of it. You know, Quigley, congrats to Quigley for breaking the 18-year-old assist record. But prior to that game, she had 15 and 15. You know, so she picked her moments when she has to be effective as far as like distributing the ball, but then she also knows when she has to take the shots to, you know, to get her to open up the floor for her teammates to then be able to do what she's great at doing, which is distribute the basketball. So in those cases, I think we should give the PGs a little bit more love when it comes to certain awards, particularly the MVP, because of the things that they do to make the players around them so great.
Aria Schwartz, Winsider.
Hey, Seimone, I'm curious about your 3-ball this season. You're shooting right around 55%. Was that something you paid attention to? I know. Hey, it's the league site, you know. So was that something when you were able to get shots up? Because I know at certain times, you know, clubs or gyms close down or whatever. Was that something you were focusing on, or is it playing the matchups when you're at the 4 or style of play? Well, why do you think you're shooting so well?
Well, I shoot the ball. That's what I do. That's what I get paid to do. This is something I've been working on, like years of work, even in my time in Minnesota, just, you know, trying to get better at the 3. I've always been a great jump shooter, and I want to work on becoming a better 3-point shooter. Like when the ball is kicked out, hit the open ones. I would never be Maya Moore or a player like that that can just kind of fly off of screens and, you know, knock down shots. But I always wanted to be consistent that when the shot was available and the defense rotates and I'm there, I got to be able to knock that shot down to create better situations for my team. Or else they're going to be able to clog the paint and, you know, we're not going to be able to get what we need to get on the offensive end. So that's just been a work in progress. And with this team, with players around me like Chelsea and Candace and NECA, you know, people kind of focus in on them a lot more. And so I'm able to float around and they find me on the backside to be able to do my thing as far as getting up shots.
Last question for Seimone will go to Adam Grossbard, LA Daily News.
Hey, Seimone, you kind of touched on this earlier, but like at this point in the season, do you start balancing like, you know, the value of the playoff position versus the value of like being physically ready for the playoffs, or is it still too early for that?
I think we got to secure, you know, the playoff positioning, but you know, Fish has always been smart with helping us take care of our bodies. Like practices are quick, short, straight to the point. Like we don't overdo it, especially with this bowl season. We're playing every other day. You can't afford to be in practice 2 and 3 hours and really putting a lot of wear and tear on your body, whether you're a younger player or older player. You know, the physical wholeness like really matters, as well as the mental. Like mentally, you could come in the gym and it could just be exhausting because you're doing the same thing over and over and over again, and with so many days and so on and so forth. But right now, I think it's more so just watching the leaderboard and knowing that we could find ourselves in a position to be 1 or 2 if we do what we need to do. And then later in the season, if we have that opportunity, maybe he'll start to focus more on maybe sending people out. I don't know his game plan, but to be honest, I would rather play through. Like I said, we're trying to get into a flow. And so if we can hit that flow prior to getting into playoffs, that would be, you know, ideal for us to kind of keep our flow going like we did with this 9-game stretch where we went 9 in a row on the win streaks.
Thank you, Seimone.